Now, is this the City of Dunbar Facebook page?
Yes. Okay, you're good.
Okay, we'll give those out there that have a chance to get connected up before we get started.
Carol's still there?
Yeah, Carol's here. Right, Carol?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Carol.
Hey, Vern.
Okay, it's 1:33 on April the 15th, 2020. Present, we have Board Member Steve Campbell. We have Board Member Carol Dunlap, conference call. Myself, Mayor Cunningham, General Manager Todd Dingus, Assistant Office Manager until next week, Jennifer Halls, who will become the Office Manager, and Mr. Todd Dingus, Smith, Cochran, and Hicks. With the quorum being present, I declare the meeting in order. The first item on the agenda is approval of the March 18th, 2020 minutes, and I believe there were some minor corrections to the ones circulated. Mr. Dunlap, would you like to state those, please, sir?
I can. On the first page of the regular meeting, the heading under regular meeting should say March the 18th rather than April the 15th, which I think Jennifer was going to correct that. And under 3A, after review, Mr. Campbell made a motion to approve I think we should identify which minutes they are. It's February the 19th, 2020 minutes. Under 4A, the first thing we have is the March 2020 financial statement. I believe that is the February 2020 financial statement. Under C, Mr. Dingus gave the February 2020 financial summary. I believe that was the January 2020 financial summary. On line 3 of C, towards the end of it, it says due to 3 payrolls in February, I believe that should be January. And I believe there was one other one at number 9 under announcements. Next sanitary board meeting will be today, which is April the 15th. Those were all minor changes, but they were, I think Jennifer was correcting those, or sorry, correcting them.
Yes, sir. She has made those corrections, and I think Mr. Campbell has a copy. I have a copy, and all those present, we will make a copy available to you at the end of this meeting.
Okay, so we'll make a motion on that to make those corrections.
Well, I guess just move to approve them as amended.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that then.
Okay.
There's been a motion by Mr. Dunlap to approve the March 18th, 2020 minutes as amended, seconded by Mr. Campbell. Any further questions, comments, or clarifications? Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda will be the financial statement. I believe Ms. Halls will make that presentation today.
Okay. The
Pull the
disbursement,
microphone up closer to you,
okay,
whichever one you want to use.
okay.
You gotta get it closer than that. Closer than that, get up there. Should be that far from you. There
How's
you
that?
It won't bite her.
go. I know it.
Okay, the disbursements for March, came to a total of $101,235.44. The bond payment was $87,800.82. The payroll was $27,216.16. Taxes were $9,034,238.66. We had a total deposits of $221,207.45. Those together are $595,446.11, minus the disbursements, again, of $231,362.07, gives us an ending balance of $364,084.04.
Any questions or clarifications concerning the financial statement?
Here.
Being none, entertain a motion to accept the financial statement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Mr. Campbell to accept the financial statement as presented. Seconded by Mr. Dunlap. Any further comments or clarifications? Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Abstentions? None. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is invoices for payment for April of 2020. If you all would go through them, and if you have any questions, I think Ms. Halls will be able, or Mr. Burnsack will be able to address them.
I see, Bernie, you got your truck, old sticks in your bed there?
Our dump truck back that, we did get our other dump truck back that had some work done on it. But, they're closed for business, but they allow us to come and pick it up. We haven't received the bill back from them yet.
I have no question on it.
I'll make a motion to accept the invoices for April 2020. As submitted.
Second that.
There's been a motion by Mr. Campbell to approve payment of invoices for April 2020 totaling $25,135.21, seconded by Mr. Dunlap. Any further comments, clarifications? Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Abstentions? None. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the financial summary. Well, I think there's if you all want to review the accounts payable and check register, which was to your packet, I think you go ahead and look through there. And if you have any questions, I think Ms. Halls will be available to address those.
See, we made a pretty good payment to the Steptoe and Johnson again. Does anybody know how much is left on that tab that we owe?
I'm not sure of that balance, but yeah, she is trying to get that down.
Yeah, it's a lot better than it was, of course. I was just curious.
Yeah, if you would in the future, just go ahead and give us a running total with the reports showing what the
Balance.
balance is, and just basically do a balance sheet each meeting, so we can see how that's progressing.
Just
I
for
wanna
Steptoe
say-
Johnson?
Yes.
Okay,
I want to say, I think it's around $50,000, but I'm not for sure. That's just a guess.
Are they still, do they still have active work doing, going on for us? They keep adding to the bill occasionally, I guess?
Yes, there are some things that they're working on environmentally for us, but those are just about to nothing now.
Okay.
I think the big thing that we'll probably see invoicing on probably in the future is the long-term CSO long-term control plan. That will be what we'll see cost incurred on unless we get into some problems with compliance. But I would say that would be the only items that we shouldn't see routine billing on for the next 6 to 8 months. Like it has been submitted and it's under DEP review, and once they issue their comments, then we may end up having to have them do some further response or comment on it.
That insurance payment to Bill Bailey, is that quarterly payment or is that monthly payment?
Now, those are quarterly.
Is it quarterly? Let's hope it's quarterly. I don't have anything else.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Need a motion?
I
I
guess we
think
can,
that's around $80,000 a year, or
Okay.
somewhere in that neighborhood, so that's
Okay,
how
got
they
that later.
quarterly.
okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item, and that's Mr. Dingus with the financial summary. I'm sorry, Mr. Dunlap, we just got those right now, so we'll try to be as.
I have a copy.
Yeah,
Oh, you do?
yeah,
Oh,
Mayor, I
great.
dropped one off yesterday that,
Everybody's doing their homework, aren't they?
I'll make sure that he goes.
Okay, great. Okay.
okay, Mayor, I passed around the financial summary for the month ending and inclusive through February the 29th of 2020. So we're approaching the 3/4 mark in our annual budget. One item of note that we continue to monitor, and it's an item that I'd like to draw your attention to this month again, is on page 3. You'll notice our domestic service. We actually billed for the month of February $176,000. And if you remember from past discussions, our budget is 193. So we were about 17,000 under for the month, which if you accumulate that for the year, we're about 31,000 under. So we had got off to a bad start, and we brought that up, but I just wanted to note that actually the month of February was our worst billing month. Now I haven't, as you know, revenues are based on how much water people are using. So I'll check and make a report at the next meeting if there was anything extraordinary that happened in that month as far as any adjustments we may have made, or if the billing cycle timing was slightly different, that had a few less days in the billing period. But obviously we want to continue to monitor how we are based on the budget billing.
So I think if you look on down through there, it looks like that all of the billings were under projection.
Yeah, it's all based, as you know, Mayor, on usage. So obviously it's either people are using less in that month, or I'm thinking maybe the billing period was a few days shorter or something because of obviously February is the shortest day of the month. So I'm not sure when the meters were read, but you are correct. It isn't just domestic services. It's completely down the board. So we'll continue to watch that in the remaining months of the budget and see where that goes. Now, fortunately, if you look at page number 6, which recaps the expenses, and these are actual expenses paid during the month, you'll see that we were about $27,000 under budget in the month in expenses. So Obviously, we're able to cash flow through that short billing item, but that's, and the fact that we're continuing to run expenses under is helping in any underbilling that we have. So we'll check closely the next several months. Now, our collections were actually pretty strong. And I don't want to get too far afield in this discussion, but I mean, with this situation that we're in, we were concerned about some deposits, losing some additional deposits. But if you look on page number 10, or not losing, but less payment or slow pays during this period, you'll see that we're pretty close to what we billed. We actually, even though our billings were down, our collections were pretty good, and that's demonstrated on page 10. You'll notice that our deposits are actually outpacing our billings. So, Mayor, that's concludes my report. If you or the sanitary board or anyone has questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
That usage that you referred to there a while ago, that's actual February usage, it's not.
Well, it's probably that's actually the billing that went out that month. Now, the usage is probably a month and a half behind that, so it's probably more like the December, late December, January usage, because we're about a month and a half behind. So
It'd be the last part of December and first part of January.
Okay.
Yeah, we get the billing report from the water company after they finish their billing cycle. So we get that and then prepare our bill. So we're at least 30 to 40 days behind the actual usage when we send the bill out.
Okay, it'll be a while before the usage probably go up with this stay-at-home order we've got in the middle of March, so it'll be May sometime before that hits probably.
That we theoretically, we should see more consumption in late February, March, and probably April. If everybody's home. Yeah.
They stay at home.
Yeah.
I know we've used a lot more. House cleaning and everything else.
Yeah, it's I think everybody.
Actually, payments have been pretty strong coming in, considering people know you can not be turned off and that sort of thing, but we're very strong on receiving our revenues they're streaming in really well.
Well, I think Bernie brought up a good point there, and that is, even though by order, somebody cannot be disconnected for non-payment of their water bill or their sewer bill, the late fees and the amount of that bill will continue to accumulate until such time that they can be disconnected. And the staff, when people call in and talk about it, say, well, can we just defer payment? And their comment has been, well, you're going to have to pay this bill at some point, or you will have your service disconnected. So I think once they've heard that the bills aren't being exonerated, I think they've pursued making their payments as they normally would, as opposed to just deferring it, because they know that if they don't pay for 4 months and it's $50 a month, they're going to have to pay a $200 bill when this is all over with, plus late fees. So I think that's been the most important thing that's transpired with communication with the staff and the customers. I think Mr. Davis has a summary of the West Dunbar bill. I think it's the last 2 pages of the handout. If you look back for the month of February, there's $423,106.61 outstanding on the delinquent bill from West Dunbar. And then, we've received payments for March and April, but we haven't applied the usage and service to that. So it's kind of it's coming down at about, what, $6,000 to $8,000 a month on the average, which is, they have 680 customers, and I think it's about $10 a customer.
It's in that range, yeah.
So it's pretty consistent with the PSC order. The reimbursements are coming in consistent with that. So it's on track that someday it'll be paid off. Any further questions or comments? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the financial summary as presented by Mr. Davis.
So moved.
Second that.
There's been a motion by Mr. Campbell to accept the financial summary as presented by Mr. Davis, seconded by Mr. Dunlap. Any further comments, questions, or clarifications? Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, none. Motion carries unanimously. I think while we're on the financial section, I think Mr. Dunlap had a question relative to the payment of timeline for payment of bills and termination. And Ms. Halls has presented us with a schedule that she gives to customers, or the staff gives to customers when they come in and have a question. And this schedule represents what's in our tariff as approved by the Public Service Commission. And I think she tried to send one to you by text, Mr. Dunlap. I don't know if you got it or not, but.
No, I hadn't received it. No.
Okay, well, I'll have her go through that right at this time. She can go through and explain the whole process.
Okay.
So we can also mail you one with your updated agenda that we are going to send you also. We'll include it in it too.
Yes, I'll do that for him. Okay, so we always do the bills on or around the 18th of every month. So that's basically represented where it says day one. Then it is due, the bill is due 20 days from that day. If it is not paid, the very next day we apply the penalty, which is 10%. And then we send termination notices, depending on which day it falls in the week, out the following day, which gives them 10 more days to pay that amount. And we are taking extensions for another week if they call in and request that at this time. Then they get 2 calls, which is the robocalls that they'll receive, just saying that it's a courtesy call. And then if we do not receive a payment, then they'll get a call from the water company just telling them to contact us. And then, so basically from the time we mail the bill out till everything is due, they get 32 to 35 days to pay the bill. So a lot of people think that they're getting billed twice in a month, but what they're getting is the original bill and then the termination notice thereafter. If they do not pay, then of course they're sent to the water company for termination, and they are worked by the water company.
Yeah, if they are slow in paying, they will more than likely receive a second bill before they pay the other bill. So it's a.
And that's the notice, the termination
Right,
notice.
but I mean, but even another bill, depending on.
Yeah.
Depending on how slow they are in paying. I think there was one. Did you follow that okay, Mr. Dunlap?
Excuse me?
Did you follow that okay?
Most of it, yes, most of it.
Okay.
I want to set down what I want to do. I think when this is over, sometime or another here, I'll sit down and just go through a couple scenarios. Like whenever a bill is received at the post office on the due date or the next day, those type of things. There's several things that I have to look at.
Okay. Well, actually,
There's questions about.
okay, actually, the way our tariff is written, we have to receive it on the days received, not be in the post office. So,
No postmark.
no, the postmark doesn't mean that it was received and paid. It just means that it was put in the mail sometime. But that is the procedure that we followed for years, and the PSC has approved that. And the other thing is it's written on the back of the bill. I think that's defined on the back of the bill also, that there is a cutoff time at 3 p.m. on the date due, because they close the books at 3 o'clock on the day that the bill is due in order to post the accounts. So any bill that's received after 3 o'clock theoretically is not posted until the following day. I think Jennifer can maybe address that more
Yeah.
accurately than I do.
Yeah, any mail that we get, checks or anything in the mail is worked up that day. Nothing lags over to the next day at all. Any downloads that we do that they paid online or whatever, those are done first thing in the morning. We make the customers aware that if they pay online, one day it will post the next day. But, yeah, and then even if we do close the books, we will continue to post those on that same day. Nothing is left over from day to day.
Okay, so even though so if somebody comes in at 3:30, you all will still post it as paid on the day due?
Yes. As soon as we get those payments, we post those. Now, we do go down for a little bit to do the end of the day, but then we're right back up when we get those posted by the end of the day.
Okay. All right, so
I was turned over and look at it, and then answer some of the questions right there, I believe.
It plainly states it right on the bill
Yeah.
that even if the post office loses it or it doesn't get to us for whatever reason, that's not our responsibility. They're still responsible for the bill.
okay.
Okay, that's good.
And that is right along as the chairman said, with the rules and regulations of the Public Service Commission.
Well, it's-
How long does it take to get a bill out from the time you receive the readings from the water company?
Get the readings. Well, we get those ahead of time, before we do the bills, probably about, I'm gonna say, a week to 2 weeks ahead of time before we do the bills. We can see that consumption before we actually do the bills.
Because they have to post all of the payments before they send the next bill out.
Yes.
So that way it makes sure everybody is accurately, because of our billing cycle, it's kind of, we gotta make sure everybody's payments are posted properly before we send the next bill out. So there is a little bit of lag. So if there is an issue with the water company, it can be addressed before the bills go out.
Quite a process.
Exactly. Well, it's always good to go through this periodically, just to,
You'll ask questions, and you can't answer them.
yeah. Okay. Anything else on that matter?
No, not from here.
Okay, all righty. I guess we'll have Mr. Dingus and Mr. Burnside give any kind of an update that they can on West Dunbar. Goshen Engineers is not represented at the meeting today, so.
Could I give one more thing under financial before we move on?
Yes, sir.
I would like to just, as a matter of record, note that since Denise is retiring, I would like the minutes state that I'm going to have her name removed off of the checking account, and I will have Jennifer's name added to the checking account, because we have to have someone from the office that signs the checks. And then, of course, Mr. Campbell or Mr. Dunlap or the mayor are all three on the checking account too. And any of those three can be a second party to signature of checks. But as of now, Denise is the only one in the office that is able to sign those checks. So I'm going to have that done through the banks and get Jennifer's name on all of our checking accounts, so she'll be able to take care of that. And I don't know that we really need a motion, but I just want to make sure that it's made a matter of record in the minutes.
Well, we can take that in the form of a motion to have Ms. Atkins removed as signatory on the checking accounts and add Ms. Halls to that.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Mr. Campbell and a second by Mr. Dunlap to have Ms. Atkins, as a result of her retirement, not for any other reason, removed from the signatory on the checking accounts for the Dunbar Sanitary Board, and Ms. Halls added in her place. Any further comments, questions, or clarifications? Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions? None. Motion carries. I did vote aye. Okay, we'll go with an update on the West Dunbar project, as best as maybe Mr. Dingus and Mr. Burnside can do with the absence of Goshen Engineers today.
I think Bernie may have talked to Kenan from Goshen Engineers and may be able to provide some information related to the project. I will note that we're having West Dunbar's meeting, as you know, Mayor, is the same day as this meeting. We're doing it by telephone tonight. So the PSD will have a meeting, and it'll be by phone. So any action that the board takes will be taken tonight.
In Mr. Chambers' absence, at today's meeting, he was not able to be here, but on behalf of West Dunbar, he has sent me an update on contract one. They're working in the area of Carver Street and Wallace Lane, and performing some concrete replacement as they go. Just as a note, both West Virginia American Water and the DOH, Department of Highways, have had discussions with Tribute concerning some of their work. This happened a couple weeks ago, and then they've had more discussions today. But I think they've got those situations worked out. And then he also wanted to make sure that there is a wetland delineation that is taking place behind Ryder Truck and Core Main, which is a pipe place over on Route 25 at their properties. And it's still to be determined what needs to be done there. On contract 2, which is pro contract, they're continuing to move up Lincoln Avenue. They have found 2 instances of 2 houses connected into one 6-inch line, and those houses have been connected that way, but cleanouts have been installed to separate those on the 6-inch lines, where they can be identified as separate lines. Phase 1 archaeological monitoring is continuing to take place on the project. The pump station submittals have been received, and Goshen Engineer is reviewing them right now. The SCADA system submittals has been submitted and approved. So CI Thornburg will start working on those. And basically what the SCADA is everything that monitors the lift station. It will come in on the Dunbar system, and we'll be able to monitor all of their lift stations, flows and alarms and whatever through the Dunbar system. It'll come directly into our system. Each one of our lift stations will be upgraded at the same time in order to allow them to come on, because we didn't have enough empty space to just add them in. So they're upgrading ours also in order to bring those into our computer system. And that's basically all that he had to mention at this time.
That's good memory. Were you reading that from?
Some, but some of it was from memory.
Good job. Any questions for Mr. Burnside on project status?
Not there.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is somehow we managed to get a some form of format for selecting the whittling down the proposals for engineering for the treatment plant pump station upgrade project. And I think Mr. Dunlap was very innovative. We got the paperwork shifted up and shifted around, and Mr. Campbell got 10 copies of one thing, and Mr. Dunlap got 6 copies of another thing, but there's supposed to be 2 separate packets. But so anyway, Mr. Dunlap figured out what he needed to do, and he came up with a pretty good method of scoring and evaluating the 5 proposals. And I've got my score sheets, and I think Mr. Campbell has his, and Mr. Burnside has got Mr. Dunlap's, and we'll just, do you have the tally sheet there, Mr. Burnside?
Yes, actually, as the mayor was saying there, on Mr. Dunlap's, he didn't get the proper sheets that he needed to do per se a tally, but he has gone through and tallied them in a different way, and by the point system he does them. But I can give you the 3 that he has selected to be physical interviewed would be Goshen Engineer, Potesta Engineer, and Chapman Technical are his 3 that he has selected. With mine, I can tell you that Alpha, I had 35 points on. S&S Engineer was 38 points.
You don't have to give the points,
Okay.
We'll keep them.
Well, the 3 that I have selected would be Potesta, Chapman Technical Group, and Goshen Engineer are the 3 that I've selected. And I can tell you just firsthand, I've worked with every one of these engineers in one way or another through my career, except one of them, and I'm familiar with the other one, but I haven't physically worked with those per se. And I will submit these to the mayor.
Now, on my tally sheets, I didn't score the bottom part on the references because we didn't have any references, in my opinion. We didn't request them. And I had the same 3 as the previous 2 people, Potesta, Goshen, and Chapman Technical. And you can have all my 5 sheets, Mayor, if you wish.
Okay. I ended up coming up with the same 3, that, the others came up with. I came up with, Chapman, Testa, and Ghosh as, my 3 recommendations for an interview. And as Mr. Burnside said, I've had a lot of experience with most of the firms and know most of the people. It was kind of tight, but there again, I think we all 3 independently, or all 4 independently saw the same thing. And maybe looking back, it may be, we may have scored them a little bit different, but maybe the same. So with that, once we get past the coronavirus phase, in the packet that Mr. Burnside furnished, there was a recommendation for a letter, and I will instruct Mr. Burnside to draft up the letter using the format that was in the manual that he gave us on the West Virginia Qualifications-Based Selection Council, how to select an engineering or architectural firm. That it was approved by the American Society of Civil Engineers, I guess, and the Professional Engineers Society. But that was been the information that we've been using as a guideline to go through the selection process. So we will send the recommended letter out, and the score sheets and so forth are on file here for anyone that wants to take a look at them, and we will move on from there, go to the next phase, send the notices out, set up some interviews, and then have the 3 of them in for interviews.
But you'll have a different letter, of course, to the other 2 people not chosen.
Correct.
Yeah, just for courtesy's sake, let them know so they won't be left hanging, of course.
Correct. And we can choose to do the interviews by telephone. We don't have to do in-person interviews unless the board so desires. So, once the coronavirus thing subsides, we can sit down and discuss, how we're going to move on to the next phase of the project. Anything else on the selection process so far?
I'm good.
Okay. So I would say we entertain a motion to send letters of notification out to all 5 companies that have submitted proposals, indicating the 3 that have been selected for the interview process.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Mr. Campbell and a second by Mr. Dunlap to send letters of notification out to the 5 firms that responded to the RFP for engineering services for the treatment plant pump station upgrade project. Any further questions, comments, or clarifications? Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Yes, we can scratch Mr. Chambers. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, Mayor, I have two items. Debbie Rabel and Barney and I, over the next probably 45 days, will be working on the sanitary board annual budget. As you know, we operate in a fiscal year that ends June 30th, 2020. So the requirements of your bond ordinance mandates that the sanitary board adopt a budget and before the beginning of the fiscal year. So probably what we'll do is get a draft out by the May meeting, and then in June try to adopt that budget. And that's generally the plan that we've worked on over the last several years.
And we need to make sure that we do that in time to get it to city council for their approval.
Yeah, I'm not sure how our May or June line up with the dates, but generally, I think we adopted at well, when we met twice a month, it was usually the last meeting in May, and then we tried to get it to council in June.
Okay. The council meetings in June are June the 1st and June the 15th.
When do we meet in June?
If it's the third Wednesday, it will be
The
the
after the 15th.
17th.
Okay, so we need to make sure we get it done in May. Unless we need to have a special meeting or something on that.
Well, we can have another meeting in June. We can have 2 meetings in June if we need to.
Okay, yeah, it may be necessary in June just due to the way that the dates line up, and then it's important that we get the budget adopted, and I don't want to rush it through here and then us not have time with council.
Well, let's tentatively plan on having a sanitary board meeting on June the 10th. That'll be the Wednesday before that'll give the May meeting to present the budget, and then the board can review it, see if they have any changes prior to approving it on June the 10th. And then that way it'd be ready to present to council on June the 15th.
That works.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Dunlap?
That's fine, that's fine.
That's fine.
June 10th, and what is our normal one? June
17th.
17th, okay.
So we'll meet the 10th and the 17th.
That's fine.
The 10th, we will, unless some other business comes up, we'll just designate that for dealing with the budget. And then on the 17th, we will have a normal meeting, because that will give staff and Mr. Dingus time to have all the financial reports ready for our normal meeting on the 17th.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor, the second item that I have is, as you know, on May the 7th, 2018, Dunbar City Council passed a rate ordinance that set sanitary rates to become effective within 45 days. And then it also had a phase 2 and a phase 3 attachment to the rate ordinance, which changed rates. Phase 2 is effective on or after July the 1st of 2020. So we're coming up on the first change of the rate ordinance. Now specifically what we need to decide is, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, we generally bill around the 18th day of the month. So the way the tariff reads, it says it becomes effective on or after July 1st, 2020. So my question is, when do we actually change the bill? Do we change it for the July 18th billing, or do we wait and change it on the August 18th billing? Because remember, our meter reads are a little bit behind.
A month behind.
So I don't want to drag this into, a big issue, but I think it's important because if I remember correctly from one of your previous meetings, you wanted something on a bill beforehand saying that effective this date, your rates are going to change. I just want to have this board consider when they want the actual bill to be changed, whether it's the July 18th bill or the August 18th bill.
I'm inclined toward the August 18th bill because that would theoretically include the month of July, so.
That'd be reasonable, yes.
How about you, Mr. Dunlap?
I have no preference on it.
Okay.
And we could actually notify on the June bill and the July bill that it's gonna take effect on
The August.
the August billing cycle.
Was that 2% of it? No.
Yes, it's a 2% increase on the rate per thousand, which would raise everybody's bill by 2%. So we're not required. I think you're doing it, Mayor, as a courtesy to your customers. The ordinance is already passed. This is already set in stone. Nothing's going to change whether someone protests or not. So you're not really running any risk of telling your customers. We're not asking them to come to a council meeting and oppose this or go along with it. It's already in motion. And just as a matter of record, you have a phase 3 that next year on July 2021, phase 3 will kick in. So council has already taken action to affect the sewer bills since that May 7th, 2018 date that can be completed on July 1st, 2021.
Might take that notice that it's been a previously approved tariff.
Yeah, I'll leave that up to you guys to decide what you want to put. I know there's probably limited space on the bill to put all this, so.
Well, we can include it in the monthly newsletter too, so.
Yeah.
And that's all I have, Mayor, so I think you were going to do a motion about making the proper date.
Yes, I was going to say I would entertain a motion to set the implementation of the phase 2 sewer rate increase as previously approved by council and the Public Service Commission for August 2020 billing cycle.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Mr. Campbell to approve setting the implementation date of August 2020 for the previously approved phase 2 rate increase of 2% on sanitary bills, seconded by Mr. Dunlap. Any further questions, comments, or clarifications?
So we're going to notify in June and July.
Yes.
Okay.
Any further comments, clarifications? Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Abstentions, none. Motion carries. Mr. Burnside.
I'd just like to report that, as you're aware, Denise will be retiring. Her actual retirement date is May 1st. Her actual last day was going to be April 21st, which would be next Tuesday. She's asked to stay on till Friday, which will be April the 24th, to work with Jennifer to try to get she's still going over some things with her and making sure that she's comfortable with everything that's going on. So April 24th will be her last day. She has also agreed that if we need her, she's a phone call away. She'll be glad to help us with anything we need. And typically we usually do a luncheon or a little going away thing, but with the coronavirus and things that's going on, we're not going to be able to do that. But I'm going to assure her that, and I've told her that when this clears up and we're able, we'll be glad to have her to come back and give her a proper sending away like we should, but we're just not able to with everything that's going on. I'm doing everything I can to try to keep space between the guys, the girls in the office, and for the board's knowledge, I've talked with the mayor and we have reduced them down to 2 in the office just to have distance between each other, that we're only having 2 in the office at a time and during this time. And the guys, we're working them out in different crews so that we don't have a bunch of guys around each other that are separated, and keeping safe distance from each other just while this virus is going on, and everything that's happening to try to keep everybody safe and working. Everybody's doing good. We haven't had any problems, and we're doing everything we can to stay safe. And as far as protective equipment, we're still good on all of that. We've had South Charleston give us some disinfect stuff that we could use. They've donated some masks and stuff to us. So right now we're in pretty good shape. And with that, like I said, our May conference meeting that normally that myself and the chairman go to, that has been canceled, or well, it's actually been canceled, but they're looking at maybe having something different after this coronavirus is over, but we'll wait and see. So just trying to maintain, keep everybody busy, everybody safe, and keep our system operating, and the revenue's coming in.
That sounds good.
I got just one question for clarification.
Okay.
I thought you had to work your last day of employment.
You do. At least one show, 1 hour. As far as I'm speaking in behalf of a state employee.
I mean, we follow the state guidelines. If she retires on May 1st, she has to work on May 1st.
She has to show 1 hour at least.
Okay.
She has to be at work on May 1st in order to.
I will check into that and make sure, and that's what I understood. Her actual retirement date started May 1, but I will make sure that is correct. And if that is correct, I'll make sure that she works that May 1st.
Don't want to.
No, I don't want to break any laws.
Well, I mean, don't want to mess her up on you.
No, I will make sure that if that is her actual date, that she does come in for the whatever.
For that day, yeah.
Yes, I'll make sure that happens.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I was unaware of that, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, I should have. Thank you. I'm good.
There's nothing else to come before the board. Next sanitary board meeting will be May the 20th. Next council meeting is April the 21st. And the next council meeting after that will be May the 4th. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Let me ask one thing.
Sure.
On the building over there at the office, is that working out fine?
Yes, everything's going.
Yes, what they have a protected area. The foyer is protected, and they only allow one person into the foyer at a given time. And, you know, they've always had that protective shield with a microphone for someone to talk through. So there's no direct air transfer from someone talking to the people behind the glass. And, you know, they have the little slip under the counter thing. They're wearing their gloves and have a bunch of sanitizer and so forth. So the only thing that we've done is, as Bernie's indicated, because it is kind of a small place and it's hard to separate 3 people out in there. They're rotating that one of them is off for several days at a time, and the other, and then somebody else rotates off. So we have 2 people. So if something would happen, we would be able to man the office in the event one or the other of them would get sick for some reason.
All right, so just concerned about the employees over there.
Yeah, they're doing a very good job isolating themselves.
Great.
Other than when they come across over here to City Hall, then, you know, what they step into over here is a totally different story. Okay,
I'll move to adjourn then.
All right.
there's been a motion by Mr. Campbell, second by Mr. Dunlap. Meeting adjourned at 2:33. Thank you very much.
And it works out over here too. I'm watching y'all.
All right, well, it works out on a teleconference and YouTube combined.